All right, guys. I'll get into my pick here, and I'm going to keep this one simple as well. I'm going to go over to the Pittsburgh Steelers this week, -5.5, hosting the Cleveland Browns, led by one Dylan Gabriel. And look, the Browns actually looked really good last week against the Minnesota Vikings across the pond. If it wasn't for that final drive by Carson Wentz, which you got to give him credit because the man's done it throughout his career, leading whichever team he's quarterbacking for in those fourth quarters, whether it's been game tying drives or whether it's been game winning drives. But now you're coming back from across the pond from London. You have a game in a divisional game on the road against the Steelers, who've had a lot of success against you in the Mike Tomlin era. And I'll say this much. So since 2008, when the Steelers have hosted the Cleveland Browns at home, in those games, the Steelers are 16-1 straight up, 11-6 against the number. And the last loss you would have to look at, you have to go all the way back to January 10th, 2021, which was in week 18, which was at that time probably a meaningless game for the Pittsburgh Steelers, but the Browns won that game 48-37. But after that and prior to that, this team has just absolutely dominated the Cleveland Browns. And I think that the defense, especially that front seven, is starting to play better. And I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago, and I did take the Steelers when they played in Dublin, Ireland. And that front seven led by TJ Watt were starting to play better. I think they will be able to generate some pressure on that offensive line against the Browns and get to Dylan Gabriel here. The concern always is that is the secondary going to be able to hold up? And I think at least in this game where right now Dylan Gabriel, I mean, this is going to be his first true road start in a hostile environment in a division game against the Steelers here. And as I mentioned, Mike Tomlin's had so much success against his Browns team, not only in the obviously in the division, but against young rookie quarterbacks there as well. They're coming off of the bye week, of course, are the Steelers. So I expect them to continue, dominating in their games here, especially within this division here. So I'm going to lay the points here. I think Steelers at minimum should win by a touchdown here. I'll take the Steelers -5.5 here, Mac.
Love it. As soon as you said it, I'm like, why didn't I think of that? Makes a lot of sense. If I get two best bets on the Dream Pod, this will be my second one. Mike Tomlin, I'm gonna get the ATS numbers before the Dream Pod, but 26-6 straight up against rookie quarterbacks. It doesn't get much more rookie than coming in on your second start, traveling overseas, less rest than usual. Steelers off a bye. Ended up being on the Vikings and got lucky, like you said, to get the cover with another quarterback. I mean, another defensive coordinator that's great against rookies in Brian Flores. I think you not only get that with Mike Tomlin, except a longer history, 26-6, and you get maybe, as RJ said, the biggest rest disadvantage in the history of the NFL. Team coming back from overseas without a bye versus a team off a bye. It's a scheduled loss. As we get into the NBA season, I know a scheduled loss when I see it. Browns, Steelers win by 2 touchdowns.
Mac, sorry, I don't want to keep doing that. Sleepy, any thoughts on the Steelers this week?
I'm with you. I think that this is just an absolutely terrible situational spot here for Cleveland. This is a great spot here for Pittsburgh, even though Pittsburgh hasn't looked all that great. I mean, do you got to assume that this is probably one of the games where they're going to look good just because of the situational advantage here. I know it's a division game. I think maybe if Cleveland had another win or two under their belt, they might come in here a little, a little saucy. But just the fact that the year has kind of panned out how it has, um, I don't know if Cleveland really shows up here. I feel like this line's close to almost being right, but I could see Pittsburgh kind of putting it on them here. So I like Pittsburgh first glance. As soon as I looked at in the beginning of the week, and then I looked at the situation, and I might actually have already put a bet in on them, to be honest with you. But yeah, there's no way I'm on Cleveland. I'm not going anywhere near them.